I think we're live. We're almost live. It's live. Oh my goodness. Hi, everybody. My name is Ross Cowman. I am a game designer from Olympia, Washington, and I am going to be reading some games that are Paul Czege's incredible 3 Forged design competition. It's an RPG design competition where you write a game and then you pass it off to somebody else and they revise your game, and they pass it off to somebody else and they revise your game one more time, and then gets submitted, and you can check it out right now. There's a link in the display box which you can check out, or if you just search 3 Forged design, you can find a list of all the games I'm going to be reviewing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a game, and I am going to do a screen share so you can check it out as well. Here it is. Here it is. Let's see. Screen share, screen share, screen share. Here it is. Okay, cool. Yeah, share. Boom. Okie doke. Let's start with this one. So this game is called, whoops, VHS Fury. And can everybody see what I can see? I'm just going to double check here and make sure that everyone can see what I am looking at. Okay, good. Okay, VHS Fury. It's the 1990s, and you are a stakeholder in VHS Fury, a small-time direct-to-VHS film studio. You've gathered 3 of your colleagues in a dusty corner of the converted loft that you use to do a majority of your indoor shots. You've gathered together to generate and collaborate on some movie ideas that you will use during this year's production season in order to churn out the delicious low-budget movies that keep VHS Fury going. Okay, that sounds like a great concept. I'm excited about this game already. The roles. Each of you plays a specific and important role in the filmmaking process: scriptwriter, financer, company actor, and cinematographer. Read through the descriptions, divide the roles up, one to each player. I'm assuming this is a game for 4 players. Okay, cool. So the roles, I'm skimming through here. So script writer, you come up with the concepts for the movies that feature hang glider battles over Mount Everest, riding dragons across the Caribbean, fighting for survival against giant spiders on top of Machu Picchu. Okay, the writer's motives. You're a movie buff. You've seen tons of big budget movies, so you love exotic locations. You want your movie to be beautiful. You love blockbuster special effects. Okay, so yeah, just scrolling through here. So you have the scriptwriter, you have the financer. So it's like the scriptwriter's got the big ideas. The financer is kind of like worried about how much money everything costs, and the cinematographer is trying to make things really artsy, and the company actor. Okay, so it looks like you have these 4 different roles to pick from, and they all have these motives, which are kind of scripted, and the motives are designed to cause some interesting play between the different roles. And there's got to be 4 players, and you each pick one of these, and you each read your motives. And how's the game played? So let's see. It says, overview of play. VHS Fury is a storytelling game wrapped in a role-playing game. You play as characters, italicized, as characters who are imagining story ideas for movies. How cool is that? It's pretty cool. Thanks for asking. Your goal as a team who's often at odds is to somehow come up with a few workable movie ideas that you can all agree with or at least live with. You will then jump forward in time and discuss some of the best scenes of the films you made in hindsight. Finally, you will determine whether it was a good season for VHS Fury or not, financially speaking. During each phase of the game, you'll play some cards that will determine which of your ideas gets made into movies and how well they're ultimately received by the video watching public. Setup. Okay, so we got some components here. This is where, so we need a deck of cards divided into suits. Oh, I see. So everybody, and then each role gets one of the suits. I think I see where this is going. Okay, so phase 1 with pitch sessions. So interesting. So in phase 1 of the game, the characters try to generate 3 to 5 movie concepts one at a time through a series of conversations. It may help us to use a timer instead of a 10-minute limit on each discussion, just to keep things moving. Each discussion always starts with the writer, who begins by pitching a high-level film concept in a single sentence. Many pitches are formed by mashing 2 well-known and successful but unlike movies together, or taking one such movie and giving it a big twist. So, okay. So I'm just skimming through here. So it looks like phase one is kind of this freeform conversation that we have where the scriptwriter, we're all sitting around this table talking about our ideas. And then, this was here's where the card mechanic comes in. So whenever there's a disagreement, everyone gets to choose a numbered card, not a face card, from the deck and slap it down on the table. And it looks like whoever has the higher card wins the argument. So we're basically having a conversation and then using the cards to, just get us past. It's like a conflict resolution system. Make your diplomacy check. Okay, you got your idea here. But you don't get to use the face cards. I'm guessing those are for something special. Okay. And then after we've completed all 5 discussions, the piles are turned over. Okay, I skipped an important part. Interesting. Oh, I see. So after we were done discussing a movie, we take all those piles that were used and they get gathered, and they're now associated with that movie. And then at the end, the movies with the lowest numbers get chosen, get made. The reasoning being that the least controversial things are the things that actually get made. That's kind of an interesting design choice, just because I'm just wondering, is that going to be the most fun? Is maybe it would be more fun to be making the movies that we argue about the most. Okay, so anyway, that's phase one. Have a conversation. We've got this conflict resolution mechanic. Phase two, then let's see. Phase two. It's later. Hindsight. It's later in the season. We're making VHS Fury is making movies. Everyone's frazzled, but there's a lot of energy in the air. It's obvious that everyone's movies aren't everything they want them to be, but they are hopeful that their good ideas and good work shines brightly enough to overshadow or at least balance out the rough parts. As each film is locked, the group gathers to view the final cut that will be released into distribution. After watching the movie, they talk about things they like and don't like about the film, describing specific scenes that are more or less fit the pitch given for the movie and what was good or bad about them. Okay, so at the beginning of the hindsight phase, you shuffle your remaining cards face down, the cards you didn't use in the previous phase. And then we take turns describing scenes from the movie. And each time you describe a scene, you play a face-down card from the top of the deck if you still have at least one into the center. The player will not know what card they're playing. One of the scenes a player describes should illustrate their character's influence. It is a scene in which they got their way. The other scene described by the player is the opposite. It reflects the character not getting their way. Okay, so we get to decide. So it looks like we're going to take turns describing, each describing a scene from the movie. And the card is involved in there somehow. I'm not going to bother to look and figure out why. Okay, and then you get to, and the cards also kind of decide how successful the movie is. Okay, cool. So that is my read through of VHS Fury. I have some thoughts about it. Let me end the screen share really quick. Beep. Oh, stop screen share. Yeah, so my thoughts about VHF Fury are I like the concept a lot. I would not play this game, and the reason I would not play it is because I'm not a huge the conflict resolution mechanics are it feels like it would kind of take a long time to get going. The conflict resolution mechanics are something that I generally I'm not a big fan of that, when that's like the kind of core of the game, is assuming that as players we're all kind of be duking it out to force through our creative vision, and then randomly through these cards sort of decide who gets their way. What is, what's most exciting to me about VHS Fury is, you know, I think the idea of there being these. I've played a lot of Kaleidoscope. Have you guys ever played Kaleidoscope? It's this game by Jackson Tegu where we create this funny, like, weird, unwatchable foreign film together. And so I know that I enjoy that activity a lot. It's really fun to kind of brainstorm and come up with some weird movie. And that sounds like a lot of fun. And I like that the game kind of gives you these really like specific roles, these really specific things to be advocating for when you're playing the game. You know, it seems like you know, what would make this into a game that I wanted to play, where I'd like to see it go, is to like right now the rules part of it and like the process of playing the game, I just want to be boiled down a little bit. I think this game could be super simple. I think having it, I don't think it necessarily needs a you know, card-based conflict resolution mechanic. I think the fun in this game is the idea that, okay, we've all got these 4 different, we've got these motives for these movies being made. Let's see how we bounce off each other's ideas, and then now we get to see the movie, and let's talk about, like, you know, how we each kind of got our way in these different scenes. And that seems kind of like where the fun is, and I would just kind of want some of the other stuff to be boiled away a little bit. Yeah, VHS Fury. Okay. So let's look at game number 2. This is one that I'm not gonna lie, I picked it purely for its title. It's called Muscle Wizards versus Laser Dragons: Turbo Vampire Edition. Let's see what this is like. Okay, I'm going to nice use of colored text. Okay, I'm gonna up the font size here, so I'm gonna zoom in. Let's just zoom in on this. I want whoa, that didn't work. That was a horrible idea. I'm sorry, I zoomed in. Oh God. View, actual size. Please all go back on the screen. Thank you. All right. Let's change the font size. How about, did that do it? No, that was the spacing. Let's change the font size. Let's go 18 point. Okay, great. Muscle Wizards versus Laser Dragons Turbo Vampire Edition. Listen up, chump heads. This is a game of high caliber yelling and hella cool explosions. And if you're not a bad enough dude, dudette, or non-binary dude-oriented person, then there's the door. I love just the, I'm just gonna say right off the bat that I really like the absolute disregard for spell check. That's great. I think that really suits this game. It's inspired by Kung Fu Hustle, Riffs, Traveler, Risus, Wushu, and Buckaroo Banzai. You and your team of extravagant dude-related folk are going to kick ass and take names. Okay, and then we have a little designer's note here. The title is very relevant to the game, but I'm damned if I, the second designer, am going to change it. Look at it, so majestic. Character creation. Okay, this is going to be fun, so strap in. First things first, we need to make characters. There's no GM in MWLD:TDE. Being a GM is boring and for nerds, and we are all ace dude type creatures. Every player is the alpha character. To start, go around and have the players alternate introducing the character creation stuff, because why should you have all the fun? List 4 traits your character has. They could be anything. T-Rex with cyborg arms, President of the United States of Kick-Ass, Bottomless Pockets, I studied in the Evil Genius College, Disco Nightmare, just a swarm of raccoons in an overcoat, oh my God. Greatest mind this side of the salt flats, irresponsible wizard headmaster, get out of my way, I'm a cathedral, summon bear storm, I love this game. Race car with a sassy AI, trunk full of guns, my hands are weapons, my weapons are hands, etc. Oh, this isn't the list, these are just examples, you can pick anything. Each of you gets a token, which marks how awesome you are. You also get 2 free-floating awesome tokens that aren't attached to any trait, because you're just the badass. Use whatever you want as tokens. We use bottle caps. Box out. This is going to get wacky as all hell. If you don't want to play a wacky game, then slap a theme on top of your traits, something like Gritty Cop or Martial Arts Masters or Pulp Adventures. Although, you know, it's still going to be wacky. If you don't want to play a wacky game, then Pathfinder's over that way, pal. Laters. Okay, one thing I'm just going to say right off the bat is I really like how entertaining this is. I'm having a really great time. I don't care if I want to play this game. I like reading it, and that's what's important. Listen, The world ain't a nice place, and you and your chums are going to get beat up some. Your character gets a 4-box health track to handles eventually. The boxes are labeled deterred, halted, transformed, and destroyed. Okay, so this is the part where I'm going to do some skimming here. So we make some, so you get to make your characters, and your characters are 2 traits, which can be anything. Your characters are, you pick a, you get a theme, which is, you know, like we all get a theme all together, like gritty cops or martial arts masters. So, and then you get a 4-box health track, which are always deterred, halted, transformed, destroyed. You get a character name, and then we vote on who has the best name and the raddest motivation, and those people get extra tokens. And and then this is your motivation. Your motivation could be anything. To punch Satan in the balls is one of them. To ride into Valhalla on the goddamn dragon shark. To take Dr. Furious's infamous nuclear grenade launcher and smash it over his spine. And then they all get a catchphrase. Okay, great. And then you draw your character. Cool. Okay, then we create an antagonist. So, so we go down the list of things that our characters want, and somebody wants the opposite, or at least something mutually exclusive, and that's the antagonist. So, for instance, if I want to punch Satan in the balls, they could be someone that is sworn to defend the balls of Satan, I'm assuming. Or if I wanted to save my boy Genius little brother from the alien mafia, they could be maybe a part of the alien mafia. And then they get and then antagonist gets a name. Figure out what would be their theme song. Okay, and let's see. The antagonist is a big deal. They're personally powerful, at the heart of their kick-ass fortress, and surrounded by their dangerous hench people. And they also, in each of these elements, functions like a trait. Make some notes about them. And every one of these traits gets a token. And these are the strengths of their resources. Okay, so just like we had traits, the antagonist has traits too, like a sick fortress on a disused oil rig, or a mind control coin, or a powerful wizard, or on fire all the time but doesn't seem. Oh man, these are all so good. So you should all download this and just read these traits because they're really fun. And the antagonist has a connection to each character. Okay, and then, okay, so let's see, I'm just scrolling through here a little bit. So we've got this character generation process, we've got this antagonist generation process. What's actually playing the game like? Okay, so we take turns framing a scene, and we pick 2 characters, say how they're in trouble, and oh, it's interesting. There's some one of the other designers has put like a little comment here. There's this interesting dialogue going on. So right now there's 2 characters in the scene, but it seems like one of the designers wanted there to be more than 2 characters in the scene. You know? Okay, so set a scene, and then we have a conflict, which, if you know me, is like a big pet peeve of mine. I'm not a super big, I mean, I've just played a lot of story games, which are, we have set a scene, at some point there's a conflict, we got some mechanics to tell us who wins, and then resolution. So the that just turned my skim up. I'm skimming now. I think I was at skim factor 5. Now I'm kind of up to skim factor 10. Okay, so we've got some conflict and some conflict resolution mechanics, and at some point somebody wins and there's a final showdown. Okay. Okay, so great. I'm coming back. Beep. So yeah, that was my read through of, what's it called again? It is called Muscle Wizards versus Dragon Lasers Turbo Vampire Edition. I had a really great time. I hope you had a great time as well. My favorite thing about it is I could tell that the people that were writing it were having a lot of fun, and I think that the kind of zany gonzo character generation, antagonist generation stuff was all like super very entertaining. Would I play the game? No, I would not play this game. I would do the character generation process of this game. That sounds like a lot of fun, but I don't think I would be excited about actually like setting a bunch of scenes, doing conflict resolution-y stuff. But you know, oh, maybe I could. This game. One of my experiences with stuff that's like really gonzo in nature, where there's just a lot of nutty stuff going on, is that I want to play it for like about half an hour or an hour, and then it kind of burns itself out. Okay, on to the next game. Last Year's Magic. Okay, let's check this out. So these are the RTF files. So this is how you know somebody was serious. They're like, no, my game is so pure, I'm not even going to turn it into a PDF. All right, let me get this up on the screen here. Whoa, oh my goodness. Okay, let me make it a little bigger so people can read it. Can I zoom in? Window, view, zoom in. Boom. Okay. Last Year's Magic. This is a game about people with a fondness for the little known and obscure, who present themselves with ostentatious affection in their manner of speech and dress, and are sometimes seen with eye-catching facial hair, wizards. There's a fundamental truth about magic. It doesn't work for everybody. In fact, if it worked for everybody, it wouldn't be magic. It would just be normal. Here's another fundamental truth. Wizardly magic is based on knowledge. You have to know things about spiritual power, the deep structure of the universe, the connection among things, and the imposition of will upon reality. Naturally, in concordance with the first fundamental truth, this knowledge wouldn't be magical if everybody knew it. As such, wizards prize esoteric knowledge that sets them apart from the rest of society. Of course, some people merely pretend to have knowledge instead of actually possessing it. What separates a real wizard from a charlatan is that they know real stuff. They're not just making it up. As such, it's important to most wizards that they let you know what they know, so you can tell they're a real wizard who knows stuff that's worth knowing. Each of you plays a wizard who has chosen to spend the evening in a pub, I'm assuming, that's well known amongst those of you who are in the know for its exquisitely authentic local flavor. As often happens when wizards gather, however, your evening is beset by problems. But there are two sides to every coin, because for every problem, there's also an opportunity for you to explain how to best solve it. And as luck would have it, there are several other wizards in the pub, exactly the sort of people who can fully appreciate your expertise. So this is a game about wizards in a pub who have some problems and are going to solve those problems. So let's see, think about so this is how you actually play. So looks like we have a character generation process. Looks like we take turns describing us entering the pub and taking a seat at the table. And then if we're not sure, you can draw cards to kind of help you figure that stuff out. That's kind of interesting. I generally, and this was advice that Twyla Campbell has given me on numerous occasions, which is just tell people how to play your game. And it's like in a board game, you know, I just want to assume that whoever's developing it has figured out the best way to play the game, and you know, just tell me, you know, do you want me to just make it up, or should I be drawing cards? I think one of them is probably better for the game, and I would like the designer just to tell me. So you know, we're seeing that there's this character generation oracle, which looks cool. But you could just skip if you wanted, apparently. And then whenever you use that, so the way this works is you draw two cards. So I might draw the two of clubs, which means the connection among things, and the lover. So like the connection among lovers, or the desire to make people happy. So and then I guess you just use that to sort of figure out who you are, which sounds fun. Oh, it looks like everybody gets a set of cards. So you can draw two cards to cast your fortune. And then after the character generation process, I think this is the next stage, then everybody gets 7 cards. And we just kind of do this sort of role-playing thing. And then the first person who notices a lull in the action touches the card deck and has a premonition of danger. And then we play around. So then we shift modes into a new kind of play, where the person that touched the deck draws an amount of cards. It can be 0, 1, or 2. If you draw 0, it's an incursion from the outer void. 1 card, a stranger approaches, and 2 cards, use a combination. You combine the cards to determine the nature of the problem. Oh, okay, and then combination of the suits. So like, that's interesting. So then we have a second thing that we're reading. So this is a different kind of oracle than the character, than the, what was this called? This was called casting your fortune. So you can use the deck of cards to cast your fortune, and you use that one table, and then this is used for the second table. And this helps you figure out what kind of problem you're facing, things like politics, imbalance in fundamental forces. Or you can choose to draw 0 cards, and there's an incursion from the outer void, which I'm assuming is going to tell us about later. And then looks like the wizard that touched the deck of cards and drew it kind of tells everybody else what they want to about your premonition. And then it starts to happen, and we discuss how the problem like that ought to be solved. Okay, and then then we each make it a suggestion about how to deal with that problem, and then put a card face down from our hand of 7. And each of the suits corresponds to a different kind of magic. So we have like spiritual power, connections to the deep structures of the universe, connections among things, and the imposition of will upon reality. Yeah, then we kind of argue with each other about what's going to be our best way to do it. And then, are we going to flip up the cards, figure out who wins? I'm not sure. Okay, then we reveal cards. The suit with the majority representation in the trick represents the ascendant suit. There's no suit with greater representation than all the other suits. Then it's not verified, and it's a null result. The player who led the round should describe how the problem has transformed and escalated while the discussion occurred, such as that the original suggestion is now moot. And then we do a new round. Okay, so either one suit is ascendant, and let's see. Yeah, and then if you win, there's something about like if all the suits are the same, like if everybody agrees on the best way to do it, it ends up not counting also. And so it's kind of okay. So I think I'm getting, it's interesting that the game talks about strategy a little bit too. So it's assuming that you're trying to win as you're playing. Okay, and then at the end of the game, we determine who won the most, who got their way the most times, and they get to be the best wizard. Okay, that's kind of interesting. Okay, cool. So that this concludes my read-through of last year's Magic. I have some thoughts. Ooh, I'm coming back. So last year's Magic. My favorite thing about last year's Magic is that I think that I'm excited about talking about wizards and wizard problems. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. I think the card Oracle is interesting. I think the card Oracle is interesting, and I'm intrigued by the idea of having the different suits kind of stand for different magic or different strategies, different magical strategies for dealing with these problems. Would I play this game? It doesn't immediately jump out to me as something that I would play, just because if you've been listening to me review the other things, I am not a big fan of just kind of static conflict resolution sort of stuff in games that assume that the players are trying to beat each other, like to become the coolest wizard. That like the exciting things for me in this game are talking about interesting magical problems and coming up with interesting magical solutions. And I would like it if the Oracle was like maybe a little focused on that. Like for instance, we have this really interesting. There's this really interesting oracle at the beginning of the game, which you use to kind of help you figure out who your character is, but then it doesn't look like it's used anywhere else. And the, just the way that the magic is kind of expressed in the game, it maybe isn't as evocative as I would like. I'd like something that really helped me to come up with some sort of more concrete stuff. And also, like, the one thing about this game is that it's really focused on you have these wizards, and then there's these problems come up, and we argue about the best way to solve the problem, and then one wizard gets their way. And that's interesting to me, but I think it would be more interesting if the game had a little more support for talking about who the relationships of these wizards are, why, how they came to be who they are, and if the relationships between the wizards could change and develop through the course of the game, and not just kind of have it be, oh, we're all hanging out at a pub, and then like the fire demon lord comes in and we all argue about the best way to deal with him. Anyway, yeah, there's some cool stuff here though. And that concludes my review of last year's Magic. I'm going to check out another one now. Oh, that's my game. I think I had a. Oh yeah. Okay, this one is called Children's Radio Hour. I'm going to put it up on the screen now. Okay. Oh, really quickly, before I talk about Children's Radio Hour, there's one other thing I wanted to mention about actually the previous two games, is that and I'm just thinking about it because Children's Radio Hour is doing this where it, I really like how the text is laid out using kind of some of those conventions that board games use. We have this expectation that we sit down to play, that when we sit down to play a board game, we open it up and it starts really concretely telling us the process for playing this game. And I would really love it if more role-playing game, story game designers, live form designers would write the rules in that way. I think it's really great to focus on making your game as accessible as possible. And I, as a player, I really don't want to have to like dig through and to try and get to the point of, okay, wait, this is how I actually play your game. This is the information I need to know when I sit down and start playing. And I think that if you are designing a game and you're finding yourself needing to include a lot of expository or a lot of explanation before you actually get to the point of like, where we're actually just sitting down and playing, you might want to consider, are there ways that I could embed some of this into the actual play of the game, so we kind of so I'm not requiring my players to have this big information download before they can actually get going. Okay. So without further ado, let's do a read-through of Children's Hour. Okay, so this is Children's Radio Hour. Before playing setup, before starting a game of Children's Radio Hour, print out each of the playbooks. Print each on a separate page with the back blank so they can be a secret. To set things up, get 2 to 6 people, including you, to play, a few dozen tokens, put them on the table, telling them these will show your actor appreciating the work of another actor. Put a blank pile of blank index cards and writing utensils out as well. Find 3 other tokens that all look different from the appreciation tokens to represent dead air. Tell the players that if all 3 get used, their show will be canceled. Get a clock or other timepiece to keep track of time during the show's hour. For your first game, take the station manager playbook and then secretly hand out 1 playbook to each of the other players. You can do this randomly or not. For later games, you can hand one of them the station manager, but someone must always take this role. Okay, and then we have a list of the playbooks. I'll just read the station manager one. We're going to kind of skim through these a bit. So the station manager, tell everyone when you get that, tell everyone you're the station manager. You take the 3 dead air tokens and the clock, start tracking time. Introduce your actor name, and then in order, ask each player to introduce their actor. Tell them we'll be acting out a radio story for children over the next hour. Tell the players to choose their goals, make a character card, a location card, and a thing card. When they're doing this, choose what your 4 listeners, while they're doing this, choose what your 4 listeners are asking for and make cards as well. Okay, So tell players to choose their, let's see, when everyone is finished, pick a player to take on the top character card to introduce once you start. And then say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and live. Periodically, you will say off air to indicate a chance for the players to talk out of character, and then say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 live to go back to the show. The breaks are 2 to 5 minutes, 15 to 17 minutes, 30 to 32 minutes, and 45 to 47 minutes. I like this game is this game is designed to take place over 1 hour, which I think is really cool. Except for these breaks, you can only talk in character and must keep things children appropriate. Sound effects and the like are permissible, even encouraged. Only speech out of character is forbidden. If anyone breaks that rule, you must put forward a dead air token indicating the station has cut sound while you're in the midst of a show. Well, while everyone may talk freely during these breaks. That's a little misprint there. I'm not sure. Other players, while everyone may talk freely during these breaks, other players should not explicitly state which playbook they're using, and even you should state what your goals are. And after the hour is over, you can of course speak freely, and you should identify your goals. At any time, you may create a character, location, or thing card. And it looks like, yeah, character, location, thing. These are, and it looks like this is kind of our material to help us come up with our interesting stuff. They go on index cards. When you give your actor a name or take a character card, choose a name from the list which hasn't been taken and introduce your actor or introduce yourself in character. Let's see. Then we have a list of names. As the station manager, you received a few letters and messages from your listeners. Your goal is to subtly get those worked into the story today. Okay, so like Andrea likes spaceships, fighting princesses, squirrels, and a blue wizard. First time one of your goals happens in a story, check the box next to the goal. Each time another player does something which makes one of your goals happen, give them a token from the center of the table. Okay, when it makes sense in the course of the story, introduce a new character. Or when you describe a character moving to a new location, take the top card from the location stack and add a new detail to it. When you describe a character encountering something important, take the top card from the thing stack and add one more detail to it. Have your character react in their own voice to the object, event, relationship, or situation. Cool. So that's the, and then, so I'm just kind of scrolling through a little bit. We have like the rebel. We've got these different, we've got these different folks with different motivations. But that's just the game, and it looks really solid. I would, the artist. So I'm just kind of looking here. So again, like the station manager has gotten these letters. All the different characters have these different things these different elements they're trying to incorporate, and it looks like we all have the power to introduce new characters, describe characters moving to new locations or encountering something important. And the game takes place over the course of an hour. And interesting. So it looks like, so it looks like the game would take place over the course of an hour, except that, the show will be canceled. So we still finish our show. It's just it gets canceled, and it never happens again. So we still play out our whole session. Okay, cool. All right, that concludes my read-through of Children's Radio Hour. What are my thoughts? I think this game looks really solid. I would totally play it. It looks like a lot of fun. I think it's ready to play right now. I think the designers of this game did a really great job of introducing the information in the order that we need it, and I really like how it's ready to play in 5 minutes, and the game itself takes an hour. I think it's filling this niche, which is really needed, which is just like good, solid, short-form games. Yeah, congratulations. Well done, whoever made this. It's super solid and ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to do just one more. Let's see. Let's do. We had some recommendations here. Sure, I'm going to check out Eat at Joe's. Where'd it go? Where'd you go, Eat at Joe's? VHS Fury. Oh wait, Eat at Joe's is a PDF. Yeah, and I just want to say, like, thanks so much, everybody who participated in this competition. It's really cool. It's been really fun, kind of watching people comment a little bit about what that experience is like. I think it is really great, and you should all read some of these games. I'd be really interested to hear which ones you like. Okay, so yeah, this is going to be my last read through today, and it is Eat at Joe's, and I'm going to put the screen share on. Boom, boom, Eat at Joe's. Okay. Spies, defectors, refugees. Whoa. Okay. There are thousands of cast-offs from the galactic Cold War, and unfortunately, you're one of them. Fortunately for you, the Interplanetary Union unfortunately, you're one of them. Fortunately for you, the Interplanetary Union is willing to protect you from the chilly grasp of the Communion. Unfortunately for you, unfortunately, the only thing left to do is hide. You've been placed in a remote section of a backwater planet called Earth, disguised as one of the natives. You've been disguised as a worker at a little diner in a place called Evansville, Indiana. The year, according to the local calendar, is 1955. Now all you have to do is blend in and hope that Communion doesn't come looking. Okay, basics. It's an RPG. One person's a GM. The other players will take on the role of the main characters, who are aliens hiding on Earth. Structured like a TV show. Each game session will cover the single events of an episode, and all the episodes together will make up a season, and so on. Different elements of the game are referred to using the language of television. The character who's being controlled by the GM is an extra, yada, yada, yada. Okay. Okay, so gameplay consists of a conversation between the GM and the players about what happens in the fictional TV show. Cool. Setting, theme, tone. So then it looks like we get some background stuff where it tells us, the designers tell us, about what kind of theme they're going for. And then we get some more setting information about the aliens. Scrolling down, this is how you create a character. So design your species. You come up with a species. You set a weirdness score. How weird are you from a human point of view, from 1 to 6. 1 being indistinguishable from humanity, 6 being so strange a human would not even recognize you as a life form. And for each point of weirdness, after the first, select something strange about your appearance or behavior that shows through despite their human disguise. And then each species can do something that's beyond human ability. You come up with your concept, and you assign an exposure score, which is the chance that it would draw someone else's attention. Everything here is from 1 to 6. I'm assuming we're going to be rolling some d6s at some point. And you assign yourself a usefulness of it. You can, and then usefulness, exposure, and weirdness, you kind of do some math there to figure out how useful a skill could be. You have to average out your weirdness and your abilities exposure. And then there's some bonus attributes you can figure out. Okay, then you got some stats: agility, cool, personality, strength, will, wit. And it talks about what those stats are. We come up with a recurring plot, which is a theme or activity that will recur throughout the series, like secretly being a communion spy or striving to keep the diner running. The GM determines your starting story points. So they just get to decide, okay. And that can be like 1 or 2. It looks like you get more story points if it's more dangerous. If the plot is more, it looks at the recurring plot and determines how detrimental it's likely to be for your character. So the more dangerous we make our recurring plot, the more story points you get, which I guess give you some sort of narrative authority through the game to help balance out the fact that you've actually made it more difficult for yourself. Okay, playing the game. So first session, you list your cover. So your cover starts at 10. I guess it can go down over time. And set an opening scene. Determine character goals. Roll dice. So you roll a bunch of 8-sided dice. and maybe we reach our character goal, roll some dice, some things happen that kind of move the numbers around. Your attributes could become exhausted and damaged. Well, so this is definitely like it's not my cup of tea. So I'm just gonna kind of skim through here a little bit more. It's got some sort of ideas about supporting characters that you can come up with. Okay, that concludes my read through. And then, I guess we just play out a series of scenes, and maybe we get discovered, maybe we don't. And that concludes my read through of Eat at Joe's. Okay, so yeah, my thoughts about Eat at Joe's. It's like I said, it's not my cup of tea. I think that in general, I'm not super stoked about kind of OSR. Well, I like playing some OSR games, where they're really stat and conflict resolution based. But this one doesn't exactly push the right buttons for me. What I think is cool about the game, I like the idea of coming up with aliens and who those aliens are, and I think a bunch of aliens working at a diner is hilarious and really funny. I could see people having a lot of fun with this. For me, the mechanics and would kind of get in the way of the particular kind of fun that I would be trying to have. I would want to have a little more support about portraying this diner and just interesting problems that aliens would get into working at a diner. Yeah, okay. So anyway, Eat at Joe's, super cool concept, just not the kind of framework that I'm personally excited about. So yeah, I read through some games, and I hope that you are inspired to go and read some of them yourself, and I hope this was useful for you. Take care.